She gets too hungry.
Oh, hello there. I was just catching up on my reading. Berserk, written by Kentaro Miura, a dark high fantasy manga about a young mercenary named Guts, also known as the Black Swordsman, who spends his time tracking evil lords and hellish demons from his past that haunt his present. This is some really dark stuff. I mean, there's murder, blood, gore, rape, polygamy, incest, misogyny. It's kind of like Game of Thrones. But today, instead of discussing the swords, the murders, conspiracies about parentage, magic, and dragons, I will be analyzing the disease that has been plaguing Westeros for the past 6 years. No, not grayscale, but mental illness. Between the psychopaths, the sociopaths, the narcissists, the alcoholics, and those who are completely detached from reality, Westeros is a cesspool of mental illness. And today I will be analyzing the anatomy of the mental illness epidemic in Westeros. These people are fucked up. I'll start with the second most hated character in Game of Thrones history.
Leave her face. I like her pretty.
Joffrey was, spoiler, one of the most unstable kings in Westerosi history. It's safe to say that he was suffering from antisocial personality disorder, also known as being a complete and utter sociopath. He was killing people, hurting people, torturing people, taking pleasure from his sadistic nature. He was incapable of empathy, and the reason he is deemed a sociopath is due to his lack of charisma. He wasn't really a charmer, and he had no control of his emotions or violent outbursts.
Find who did that and bring him to me! Hold on! Don't do that! Just kill them! Kill them all!
Some of his behavior can be attributed to the fact that he was a king who answered to no one, not even his own mother.
What are you asking? I'm asking if he fucked other women when he grew tired of you. How many bastards does he have running?
Or it could be attributed to the fact that his parents were brother and sister, Aunt Mom and Uncle Dad. Joffrey was a madman, much like the Mad King, living under the impression that he could never be killed, so when he finally met his demise, no one was more surprised than Joffrey himself.
Do you remember the first time you saw a dead body?
Mother.
Cersei and Jaime Lannister are two of the most mentally ill characters on Game of Thrones. Cersei is suffering from borderline personality disorder, and Jaime is suffering from narcissistic personality disorder. Borderlines like Cersei are usually suffering from an identity crisis. Cersei over-identifies with her children, and this is why she goes to great lengths to keep Joffrey in power, which in turn keeps herself in power.
I've made many mistakes in my life, but that wasn't one of them.
Oh, but it was. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win, or you die. There is no middle ground.
They are also attracted to narcissists because they feel complete when they are with them. They want to merge in order to form a greater identity. Throughout the series, Cersei has stated several times that she should have been born a man, and she sees in Jaime everything that she wishes to be. She also has a great fear of abandonment. This is why she loves Jaime but can never forgive him for being captured by the Starks.
You come back after all this time with no apologies in one hand and expect everything to be the same.
What do you want me to apologize for?
For leaving me.
You think I wanted to be taken prisoner?
Don't know what you wanted. You weren't here. You left me. Alone.
Every day I was a prisoner. I plotted my escape. Every day. I murdered people so I could be here with you.
You took too long.
What are you saying?
I'm saying you took too long.
And it's amazing because he's fighting the war that she fucking started. Like, what the fuck? And even though Cersei has power and beauty, their sexual relationship gives Cersei a sense of security and satisfaction. Jaime, on the other hand, is a narcissist who craves attention and validation, and this is the reason for his unnatural attraction to Cersei. Somebody suffering from borderline personality disorder usually is attracted to risky behavior, and this could be the reason why Cersei is so enamored with Jaime, along with also having an identity crisis. She sees everything she wants to be in Jaime, and also the risky behavior serves as a solution to Cersei's mental illness. Being that Jaime exhibits all of these traits that would attract somebody like Cersei is a perfect explanation of why a narcissist like Jaime would be attracted to somebody like Cersei. A borderline and a narcissist are a very dangerous pairing for this reason, and when Jaime is away from Cersei, he becomes a more rational and sympathetic character to the audience. And the most fucked up thing is that Jaime and Cersei don't have the least healthiest relationship on the show. That would go to Stannis and Melisandre. Stannis and Melisandre are both suffering from different perspectives of the same delusion. Melisandre is a character who is in love with herself and the world that she has created. Throughout the series, she gives off a sense of invincibility and clairvoyance, and uses her sexuality to fool weak-minded individuals into believing that she is infallible and capable of predicting the future. This is why Stannis is the perfect puppet for Melisandre, and it makes sense that somebody like Davos, a realist, would always be skeptical of Melisandre's actions. Stannis is a character who lacks a personal identity and truly believed that he was the rightful king of Westeros, as Melisandre would always remind him. By the time Stannis sacrifices his own daughter, he is completely detached from reality. We've seen in new trailers for Season 6 of Game of Thrones a more remorseful and vulnerable Melisandre, who has really come to grips with reality that she isn't an all-powerful wizard who can control and manipulate the future. So, too bad Stannis couldn't come to that realization.
Oh, you fancy, huh? Oh, you fancy.
Dragons do not do well in captivity.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink, and I know things.
Tyrion Lannister may appear to be one of the healthiest characters in Game of Thrones, mentally and physically.
That little worm between your legs does half your thinking.
It's not that little.
But he is not without his mental shortcomings. Tyrion, like his father and his brother, is a narcissist, but he is much more healthy than his mentally ill siblings and father. It is safe to say that the Lannisters are the most mentally ill family in Westeros. Tyrion is self-centered in that he uses the people around him as pawns while maneuvering through the great game. Though Tyrion comes off as a brilliant politician, manipulator, and self-described realist, he is constantly wallowing in his own self-pity. He does not express this through words, but through his actions.
Why are all the gods such vicious cunts? Where's the god of tits and wine?
He is always drunk, and he uses alcohol to numb the pain of being considered an outcast by his family and society because of his small stature. And though he says he enjoys playing the great game, there are times when he's reluctant to engage in certain aspects of it. The pressures and intensity of playing the Game of Thrones so well could attribute to his alcoholism. Or it could be the fact that his father had sex with his girlfriend, or made him divorce his first wife and then forced him to watch her have sex with a bunch of random guys. Either or. And now to the most hated character in Game of Thrones, Ramsay Snow, the Bolton bastard from the north. As Joffrey Baratheon perfectly fits the bill as an unhinged sociopath, Ramsay Snow is the textbook definition of a psychopath. Where sociopaths are known to have trouble controlling their emotions, psychopaths are usually masters at mimicking and manipulating human emotions, as seen in Season 2 when Ramsay tricks Theon into believing that Ramsay is actually his rescuer.
Come, my lord. You're a long way from home, and winter is coming.
And we know how that worked out.
Yara. Shh. Wait. I brought him back. He killed the others. What?
Don't get me wrong, Ramsay is prone to psychopathic outbursts, just like Joffrey.
Surrender. I surrender.
And I accept your surrender.
Ramsay Snow is a full-blown psychopath with no regard for human life and no remorse for any of his sadistic actions. I am not sure that this character loves anybody, and his only true goal is to gain the trust and acceptance of his father so that one day he can become Warden of the North. Lysa Arryn, or as I like to call her, Aunt Titty Milk.
Your aunt has done a bad thing, Robin, a very bad thing.
Oh my god, that's so weird. Lysa Arryn is probably the most mentally ill character on Game of Thrones. Like Cersei, she suffers from borderline personality disorder and over-identifies with her son Robin. This is why she likes to keep him close and refuses to let him grow into a personal identity or drink milk that doesn't come from her teat. This could be considered a case of Munchausen syndrome, where Lysa purposely keeps young Robin sickly and helpless in order to give her life more purpose. Her relationship with Littlefinger is very similar to Cersei and Jaime's relationship in that Lysa is obsessed with Littlefinger and has a great fear of abandonment. She loves him, she hates him, and it's really the only purpose that she has in life, being a wife to Littlefinger and being a mother to Robin. In this case, Littlefinger has the upper hand in this relationship because unlike Cersei Lannister, Lysa Arryn has no real power or purpose in the world, rather than being used as a pawn by Littlefinger and the other men that surround her. It's really a sad life for Lysa Arryn. Well, at least it ended quickly.
I have only loved one woman. Only one. My entire life. Your sister.
I used to think that I could not go on, and life was nothing but an awful song.
I wanna see titty milk fly. Arya Stark has had one of the most interesting character arcs in Game of Thrones. From the beginning of Season 2, Arya Stark has been on the run from the Lannisters, and has encountered some of the most gruesome and traumatic events in the show. While on the run, she has witnessed the death of friends, allies, people that she cares about. She witnessed her own father's beheading, and then she was too late to reunite with her mother and brother before they were killed. This is a character who is suffering from PTSD and is constantly stuck in survival mode. She is hyper-vigilant, she is always looking for danger, and she trusts nobody. This is because of all the traumatic events that she has seen throughout her character arc in the show. This is why her relationship with the Hound is so interesting and a fan favorite, because they are two characters who are stuck in survival mode. The Hound has had many traumatic events in his life, having his head pushed into a pit of fire when he was a young boy by his brother the Mountain, and also being a soldier, a warrior who has fought on the battlefield many times, and who actually flees the Battle of the Blackwater because of his fear of fire. Arya Stark is a character who will be stuck in survival mode until she finds herself in a sort of safe haven. Now in Braavos, she is becoming a many-faced assassin, and she is learning to channel that fear and anger into a skill for survival. But this is a character who is clearly suffering from PTSD, and is a character that we all want to see reunited with her family so that she can eventually come out of that survival mode and use her skills as a many-faced assassin for good. Jon Snow is one gloomy bastard, and for somebody who knows nothing, ignorance sure is not bliss for this character. Jon Snow is a character who is obviously suffering from depression. Now, it could be biology-based. Ned Stark, Arya, Sansa, even Catelyn have all suffered from depression, or it could be a seasonal effect. Being that far up north could be a trigger for depression. Jon Snow has spent the majority of the series farther north than most characters in Westeros have ever been, and he has witnessed the death of friends, allies, and the woman that he loves. This is a character who has spent the majority of his life as an outcast from the rest of society. Being a bastard born to Ned Stark really narrowed his options in life, and his only choice was to go to the Wall. Since he has become Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, half of the Night's Watch wants to see him dead after he brings the wildlings south of the Wall. Not only does he have to deal with the Night's Watch that wants to see him dead, but he has to deal with the impending doomsday apocalypse of all these White Walkers who are coming to kill the entire continent. I mean, if this character wasn't depressed, I think that would be a little creepy. Jon Snow really needs to take a vacation. When you meet Theon Greyjoy, he comes across as a very arrogant, full of himself, almost suffering from narcissistic personality disorder. But by the time Ramsay Snow gets his hands on him, he is completely broken from reality. He is convinced that he is no longer Theon Greyjoy, but he is a new person entirely, called Reek. I am Reek. This is a character who has completely broken from reality. He is suffering from delusion. He is almost kind of schizophrenic in that he really doesn't have control over his mental psyche. He has no personal identity, and he's almost suffering from what they would call Stockholm Syndrome. He chooses to remain with Ramsay even though he has plenty of chances to escape. We see at the end of the 5th season that he actually does escape. But before that, he almost sympathizes with Ramsay. He defends him. He becomes really his slave. It's going to be hard to see what happens with Theon Greyjoy moving forward, but at this point, he is just completely broken from reality. Daenerys Targaryen, the first of her name, Queen of Meereen, Lady Regent of the Seven Kingdoms, Protector of the Realm, Khaleesi of the Great Sea, Breaker of Chains, and Mother of Dragons. She's actually pretty normal. Daenerys has gone through the biggest character transformation throughout the whole show. Daenerys starts the show as a vulnerable kid with no sense of belonging in the world, no family except her vile brother Viserys, and a forced marriage that leaves her in the control of a horse-riding warrior named Khal Drogo. By the end of Season 5, she is a stern and confident queen who has inexplicably acquired power, wealth, and 3 dragons who were thought to be gone from the world. Though she is now the head of state of the great city of Meereen, privileged with enormous wealth and power, she remains humble and gracious, straying from a ruler's arrogance and narcissism by remaining empathetic to her allies, friends, and citizens. This is why Dany is such a relatable character to audiences. She is normal, and compared to her Westerosi counterparts, she is mentally healthy. The characters who tend to be on the healthier side of the mental spectrum, like Daenerys, Tyrion, Jon Snow, Arya, and Sansa, are usually fan favorites because they're more relatable, and the characters who are on the less healthier side of the mental spectrum are usually hated by the audiences, like Joffrey, Ramsay, Cersei, and Jaime is probably the most interesting one because he goes from hated to liked to becoming more of a sympathetic character to the audience because of his progression. As he becomes mentally healthy, he becomes more of a likable character to the average fan.